moving, explode, baby.
Welcome to the best podcast about movies that there is. Number one, rated by everybody already. Number one episode. My name is Jonah.
And my name is Forrest. Yeah, like what he said. Welcome to the best movie podcast ever. Anyway, Jonah, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. Just watched a fresh Blade Runner.
Yeah.
It's the movie we're talking about. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, this movie was wild. For me, like I watched this movie like years ago, but then when we watched it the first time, we've watched it twice now. When we watched it the first time, like it just blew me away. I don't know what changed. I think I've just like experienced a lot more media since the last time I watched it, and like I think more critically about films now. And it's just like wild how different my perception of this movie was. I mean, what's your relationship with Blade Runner?
I've seen this movie the most times out of any movie. I think this is like the movie I've seen the most out of everyone. And every time I watch it, I see something different.
You should move a little bit closer to the mic.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good.
This better? Okay,
Yeah.
right on. Sweet. Yeah, but I love this movie. I've probably seen it like 100 times. This time was equally as good as every other time I've watched it. And I'm very excited to talk about it in depth with somebody else. Yeah, well, we could talk about like what we've been watching aside from this movie. I just thought, because I saw another movie by Ridley Scott this week. I saw Napoleon, and that was really good. And so maybe we could just talk about what we're watching.
Yeah.
I saw that. Super good. It was definitely Blade Runner-esque. Like, I felt like it was the same type of epic, but like it doesn't take itself like 100% seriously. Like it can still have fun. Like that's kind of how I feel like about like what I feel about Blade Runner, is that it's not like super serious about itself.
Yeah. I literally know nothing about the Napoleon movie, so I definitely want to see it. Yeah, I mean, all I've been watching lately is this anime called Frieren. I think I told you about this the other day, but it's like basically about like it's a fantasy world, pretty generic. Like there's elves and dwarves, but it like takes place after the end of this like 10-year long journey.
Oh yeah.
It like follows an elf who's immortal, and it's kind of it's interesting because it's like this approach to, I feel like, fantasy from like a mortality perspective almost in a way, because it's kind of a story about how she, you know, since she's immortal, she kind of cuts herself off from getting to know people. But then this one party of people that she traveled with for like 10 years, it's kind of a story about post their journey to like save the world, how that impacted her, and how like these people of all people in her like 1,000-year long life have like impacted her that much.
That's cool.
It's cool because like it's really popular right now, and I think rightfully so. It's like a beautiful anime.
That's cool. You watched what was that one animated show? It was like Unicorn Warriors Eternal, I think.
Yeah. Did you actually go watch it?
I watched that whole,
I think
at least the first season.
Yeah, we might have talked about that at some point.
But from what you say about it, that kind of gives me like that kind of vibes, like kind of how the elves in that live forever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean this is more of a like straight away like high fantasy, but like the crazy thing about Unicorn Warriors was how like it was this mixture between like steampunk and fantasy.
Yeah.
Like that was so
was
cool.
Wild. Like I didn't know anything about that show before I got into it, and I think that's like a perfect way to watch it. Is you just
Oh
gotta
yeah,
like
no,
just
it was
watch it.
wild. Definitely suggest watching Unicorn Warriors Eternal, which will probably have a second season, I think. And the other thing I've been watching is Regular Show. Started watching that for the first time.
God bless the regular show.
Which is just I was always interested in Regular Show, but we watched Adventure Time, and like Regular Show's already pretty solid. Like it's pretty funny. I don't think it'll have as much serious like stuff going on as Adventure Time did, but it's already a weird trippy world where like literally anything can exist, I guess. Like in the second episode of Regular Show, like they like find this arcade machine that like lets out a demon. Do you remember that episode?
Yeah, vaguely.
Like I think it's like the second or third episode, but then like they have to this like weird digital demon starts going around destroying everything. It was just like, okay, they've already been to the moon in the first episode, so you know.
Yeah, they're taking a lot of drugs and like writing that show. That's like peak Cartoon Network action right there.
Yeah. Well, what else have you been watching lately?
Demon Slayer. I'm on the 4th season.
Yeah.
Flying through. It's intense. Makes me nervous.
Wait, so the 4th season is like the pleasure or the entertainment district?
That was the 3rd one. I just finished that one.
So this one is.
Well, it starts off he's at the village where they make the swords.
Okay, yeah.
And the really hot lady with the pink and green hair's there, and that like really weird dude with the long blue hair. I'm only like a couple episodes into
season. He's like one of the other Hashira, right?
Yeah, he's like the mist one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but he's there.
That's something.
That's cool. Yeah, they killed somebody in the 2nd season who I really wasn't expecting them to kill, and so the whole 3rd season I was like, fuck, who's gonna die? Like,
oh yeah,
what are they gonna do? How are they gonna make me sad?
It's definitely a series that's good at like keeping like actually not just pulling its punches, you know, like characters actually like suffer. Mm-hmm. But also like it's pretty impressive how the Hashira actually are like relevant.
Yeah,
because
do
when you
really
introduce like a group of characters like them that are like supposed to be the most powerful, usually they're like saved for the end game, you know, or whatever. But I feel like it's a cool structure to like have each story kind of take place with one of them, you know, so that like they're actually characters.
Yeah, I kind of like how they space it out and kind of give you one like individually. I didn't like what's his name, Uzui, the dude from the entertainment season.
Oh yeah,
I didn't like him at first because he was like stealing the ladies to go on this mission, and then Tanjiro's like, no, you can take us instead. But by the end you're like, oh, he's an honorable man, he loves his wives. He's gonna retire now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Finished up Invincible as well. Did you finish watching the second season? I have
not watched it yet.
Oh, buddy, we can talk about that. We can talk about that when you're done. Because that's great.
Yeah, I need to do that. But I also just watched Return of the King again.
Oh,
Didn't even finish it. Because that movie is, well, I'm not going to watch the theatrical version of that movie. I can only watch the extended version of that movie because that's the only version of that movie that should exist.
That's how you should watch Lord of the Rings.
And so 4 hours or like 4 hours and 10 minutes or whatever it is, I still have an hour and a half left because goddamn, that's a long movie. Yeah. But it's so good. Like, do you like The Lord of the Rings?
I love Lord of the Rings. I'm reading through the books right now.
Oh, I think you told me
I'm finally getting through the first one. I've tried it like 5 times.
I read the first one during COVID and got halfway through the second one and then just kind of stopped again, which I'm pretty sure was what happened to me when I was like in middle school.
Yeah.
But
dense.
I mean, like, I really loved the writing of The Fellowship of the Ring.
It's amazing.
But honestly, The Fellowship of the Ring is probably my favorite portion of the story in general.
Oh, yeah?
So, like, I'm glad that I read that one. But, like I know that some people don't like the movies, like die hard Lord of the Rings fans.
Yeah, they leave out.
I think
some
they're
things.
very few and far between, but like the thing that the movies does so well is separate Frodo, or like kind of interweave Frodo and Sam's story, parallel to what else is going on, because it adds more tension. And I think that that's also just a more modern way of storytelling, whereas like probably when Tolkien wrote the book, he kind of conceived of two different stories in a sense, because I feel like it's one story about Sam and Frodo in the later two books, and then one story about like everyone else.
That's something that I was not expecting when I watched Lord of the Rings for the first time. I was like, fuck, like they don't even talk to each other like the whole time. Like Frodo's just like gone.
It's just a lot of time of them just being like, man, I hope Frodo's okay. Is Frodo okay? Man, I hope Frodo's okay.
He is not okay. He's doing bad.
At the end of Return of the King, he's doing extra bad.
He's just like skinny and sweaty.
And like the whole sequence with Shelob when he like tells Sam to go home, it's just like so sad, bro.
Yeah,
it's so sad.
Yeah. But anyway, should we talk about Blade Runner?
Yeah, we can talk about
Lord of the Rings.
I think that was a good one, but
nice and loose now.
Yeah,
I don't know. All right, should we start off? What would you rate this movie out of 10? Just like of how much you like it. Just like all of the scales combined. What would you rate this movie out of 10?
It's probably a 9 out of 10.
That's fair.
I don't know if I can give it a 10 out of 10. Like my first reaction was like, oh yeah, this is a 10 out of 10. But I just don't think it can be there because, well, fucking, I don't know. It can be there.
It's a 10 out of 10 in my heart, but I know it's not a 10 out of 10 movie.
But I'm like thinking about why I would say it's not a 10 out of 10. And everything I think about is just so like there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, the only things that would like you could criticize is that it came out like 40 years ago.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean like so
it's got 80s movies.
There's the one scene between Rachel and Deckard. I think that's the only thing that could make it a 9 out of 10, because that's just a very awkward and like not pleasant scene to watch.
Mm-mm.
I mean, if you're watching this and you haven't seen Blade Runner, just spoilers, because we're probably just gonna talk
straight
about
up spoilers. This movie came out a long time ago.
If you're watching this because you like Blade Runner, then you probably already know what happened. Yeah. But anyway, it's the scene where Deckard just kind of forces himself onto Rachel. Just a very weird scene.
Yeah.
Probably the only reason it could be a 9 out of 10. But other than that, I'm like, that's the thing about like how coming back to this film, I remember when I watched it in like 2018 or something, I was just not very impressed. I was not like, oh my God, that was amazing. Like at the time, I feel like I felt like it lacked direction and it was like hard to follow.
Yeah.
It was kind of boring. That was like my thoughts then. But then when we watched it together the first time, like it's been like almost 5 years, and my ability to just like I don't know, I guess just pay attention is better.
Yeah. And like that perspective isn't too wrong. It's slow. It's not a super fast paced movie.
But that's not a bad thing.
No,
like
I think it's not.
I think that's the thing that I realized was like, holy shit, like there's so much nuance to like every scene. Yep. It's kind of like everything that happens and everything that gets discussed matters. And I feel like if you're not like paying attention, there are a lot of things that can just kind of like pass you by, and then you like won't have that information going forward.
Yep.
And there's a lot of really important moments that like even when we just watched it right before we recorded, that's exactly what kept happening again. I was like, there were moments where I was like, I didn't even catch that last time. Like that makes so much sense, but like just certain lines about the replicants and just like little clues about like what's actually going on, because they never just outright tell you what's going on. It's a
Yeah,
lot of you
yeah.
having to pay attention and understand what's going on. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's
Just
cool. Like
ranting.
you jump in like right in the middle of this story. Like I wish like there was a Blade Runner prequel movie so you could get some backstory here, but like it's just like okay, all these androids, they're like already illegal on Earth, and now a different group of them than the ones that made it illegal like killed a bunch of people and stole a spaceship and are now on Earth, and this guy who gets killed in the first scene is the guy who's supposed to take care of it, and so they get Harrison Ford instead, and he doesn't want to be there, but you don't know why he quit. He just doesn't want to be a cop anymore, and he gets pressured into it.
Yeah. Like you could straight up like have an entire movie that's like about what leads to this film.
Oh yeah, there's like so much history already with it. Like I want so much more lore from this universe.
Yeah, see, so, well, this is funny because when we were watching it the second time, I just kept thinking to myself, like, this is just like sci-fi Bloodborne. Like, almost everything that's going on is like sci-fi Bloodborne.
How is it like Bloodborne?
Because I keep like coming back to the architecture. Like there's so much cool architecture in this film because it's this really unique like fusion of like or like futuristic and like old. I don't even know like what era of architecture you could say it is.
It's this weird mix of like old like Oriental architecture and almost ancient like architecture. Like I feel like Deckard's
I was almost
apartment looks like a pyramid. Yeah, it's like Victorian, and like there's Asian influences, and there's like weird markings that look religious.
Well, I mean, there's also a lot of Japanese like around like text and stuff like that. Lots of neon, but like I feel like the set that really like stands out to me is like the hotel, where like
that one's super
I was
awesome.
just like, this could just be like a Soulsborne type of level because of all of the creepy like animatronics that are just kind of like doing random stuff, like all this ambient creepy noise.
It's kind of like Resident Evil too.
Yeah,
Did you ever
exactly.
play those games?
I haven't, unfortunately.
I've played like the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I keep being told that I need to play RE4, the RE4 remake.
I have heard that one's like the best one. The old ones are very dated. They're slow.
Yeah, but I think that it's kind of the oppressive nature of the just the setting that like reminds me a lot of Bloodborne 2.
Yeah.
And even as we were discussing, like there's all of this like knowledge that can kind of expand upon the experience that's like behind the scenes. Like there could be an entire game made about like all of the stuff that happens prior to Bloodborne and like all of the crazy shit that goes down with these like ancient gods, and like, but you don't get to see that.
Yeah,
you kind of,
it is very Souls-like,
and that's kind of the same
story.
with this, where like you get thrust into this world that feels incredibly rich, has like so much like detail and like attention to like every corner, but like you're only seeing like one like minuscule story within that. You know?
Like you don't know anything about Deckard.
Yeah,
you just get plopped in, and he's just eating noodles, and he's just like Harrison Ford himbo.
Yeah, and you don't really like get a good feeling. Well, I mean, I think you do throughout the film.
Yeah,
but like at first you don't really understand why Deckard is even doing this.
Yeah.
But then you realize that he wants an out, basically. Like this is supposed to be his last job, right? Because he wants to retire.
Like he clearly doesn't like it. Like he kills the snake lady and he's just like
all of his faces are just so funny. Like every time he shoots someone, he's just like flabbergasted and like like blinking and just like taking like deep breaths, and you're like, I mean, I get
Yeah,
it. It'd
he
probably
goes
be stressful
feral.
situations, but it's just really funny.
But I think this is definitely my favorite movie with Harrison Ford in it,
That's fair, yeah.
hands down.
But The Last Crusade though is a really fucking good movie.
I didn't think about The Last Crusade. I love that movie.
Like honestly,
That's
like
probably number two.
The Last Crusade is like one of the best films ever made.
I'm glad you think that too, because some people are like, "No, man, fucking Temple of Doom all the way." Or like,
Wait, really? What? I feel like most people are not that way.
so Temple of Doom is probably the worst one, but it's
Well,
the
yeah.
most fun, I would say. But okay, so I have a little side note from Blade Runner. I have an opinion that 80s movies are bad. Like like there are some good movies that came out in the 80s, like Blade Runner. But my general consensus is that movies that were made in the 80s are just like bad.
But like bad in like what sense?
Like they're just
By
not good.
What criteria are we talking here?
They're sloppy, they're greedy, like
I mean, I guess, but honestly, like they're good because they're so like
oh yeah,
they're
like there's some
so-
gems.
but there's so much feeling. I mean, like, yeah, there's probably a ton of bad movies, but there's also a lot of bad movies now. But like the
yeah.
really good movies from the 80s were really good.
I agree with that, but compared to the movies that came out in like the 70s and the 90s, I feel like
Okay.
like as we talk about more movies, I feel like
Yeah.
this opinion will come
You're
more
probably-
into fruition.
You're probably a bit more well versed just in film than I am, because like I know films from throughout like the eras, but I
don't know anything.
I don't have like a picture in my mind of like, you know, particular films from particular eras. Like,
yeah,
I feel like
think
my
about the
knowledge
80s.
is like the 80s and
Yeah,
modern.
think about like this. I think about Blade Runner. Think about like late Star Wars.
Yeah.
Think about like John Carpenter movies. Have you
Exactly. Yeah,
seen
like I
any of
know
those?
all of these because I feel like the 70s into the 80s are like what I know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, I don't really know that many movies from the 90s. Well, I mean, like I don't really care about very many movies from the 90s. I
Yeah.
guess.
You like Tarantino?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I've never like just absolutely loved Tarantino. Like I've seen his movies and his movies are quality, but like I'm never like, oh my god, I need to watch a Tarantino film, you know?
Yeah. Quentin Tarantino, big one in the 90s.
Yeah, I knew that too, I guess.
But anyway, we should continue talking about Blade
Yeah.
Runner. What else?
I mean, there's so much to talk about. Like the music, bro.
The music is fantastic. I was going to say
It's
that's
just
really,
like-
really good.
That's something that I think I realized this, you know, this new event in my life of watching it as more of an adult, I guess. Like the music just sucks you into the world.
Yeah,
and
it's this is the best
Like, you
sci-fi
just-
music for me.
You
I
just
think.
see shots in this film, and like I would highly I'm assuming if you've seen this movie, you've seen it in all sorts of different settings. But like I think there was something that was kind of just like jaw-dropping about watching it with like all the lights off. Like you just
Yeah.
kind of get sucked into
Absolutely.
this world as you're watching it, and like every aspect of it does that to you. Like the music just draws you in. The lighting is phenomenal, and there's just so many shots that are
Yeah.
just so like aesthetic, and like that's kind of why this film is so popular, and like why it basically created a movement, you know, in a way.
Yeah. Totally. Like sci-fi, I don't think anything had done sci-fi this well until Blade Runner. And it didn't even do that well at the box office.
Yeah. When I was thinking, like while we were watching it, I was also thinking about like the only other thing that I feel like comes this close to like bridging that gap between like, you know, what we know in our civilization and like this futuristic vibe is definitely Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop is very, very Blade Runner.
Yeah, like like it has so much of a similar vibe. Like when you go to a world in Cowboy Bebop, you like feel like it's been lived in. Like you see these civilizations that kind of just look like our modern civilizations, but then like with these like highly high tech like nuances that like don't pop out. Like nothing is shiny. Everything is gritty and everything kind of sucks still.
It's gritty and neon,
which
and
is
that's
kind of
all
like
you get.
how life is, you know? Like there is futuristic aspects. But
Yeah.
even watching it this time, like I was thinking a lot, like you brought up the picture, like that you can zoom into like infinitely,
Yeah.
it seems. Like it's a
Oh, yeah.
picture and you can somehow like zoom all the way in and like see shit that you can't even see in the actual picture. Like
It's just like a super camera.
yeah,
Go
and,
around
like,
every angle in your house.
and you were like, how does this work? And it's like, yeah, like when you think about modern technology, like our technology now,
Yeah.
like we have a lot of like really advanced stuff, but it's also interesting to think about how a film from the 80s kind of created a future that went down a different path than our own, because it's like in this future they don't have smartphones, they don't have cell phones constantly. like
Yeah, he's gotta-
there are high tech things, but like everything still kind of feels analog in a sense, you know?
Yeah.
Like
You,
it doesn't feel digital because at that point I feel like people still didn't perceive that digital was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And I know you haven't played Fallout, but it's kind of like how, like in Fallout, it's kind of like that 50s futuristic, but this is kind of like 80s futuristic,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, he's got a drunk call Rachel from like a phone video booth.
Yeah, like a video. It's like
Yeah. Can we
we got payphones still, but now you get video
Yeah.
instead of just talking to them on the phone.
Harrison Ford is a menace in this movie. He is
I guess.
not a flattering man, even though
I don't know if he's necessarily a
so
menace.
adorable.
He kind of just gets the shit beat out of him every time he tries to fight someone.
He gets by solely on luck.
Which, I mean, like, that's the funny part about watching this movie, because it's like still like occasionally an action film, but I feel like how different action films are nowadays to what
Yeah.
they were back then. Like, I guess it wasn't that much of an action film, but it doesn't portray the Blade Runners to be these like superhuman, like highly skilled, like combatants.
Yeah,
just,
they're
like,
not. They're
just
fucking
kinda,
beat cops.
they're just kind of guys, and they kind of don't. They're not very good at fighting.
Yeah.
but they just need to get a good shot in, and then you're dead.
They're bounty hunters. Like
Yeah.
in the book, they are not flattering people. Like they
Yeah.
only care about money. Like Deckard in this doesn't even really care about getting paid. He's just like doing this because
That's
if you're
interesting.
not cop, you're little people.
Yeah, I guess we haven't even talked about the book, because I know you've read the book.
Yeah, I've read the book a couple of times. I
Which-
highly recommend it. The universe is a lot sadder. Like
Yeah.
they really like nail in that whole like everybody's moved off world. Like they all
Yeah.
nuked each other. The only people around are like poor people and like stupid people.
Interesting.
Like people who have low IQs aren't allowed to move off world.
I guess they kind of briefly touch on that in this.
Yeah, because like
he-
that's where JF Sebastian
Yeah,
comes from. Is
J.F.
he's
Sebastian,
like one of
yeah.
the degenerate people.
Interesting.
And in the book, there's like emotion boxes that people like hold on to, and they like can choose how they're gonna feel. And like Deckard has a wife who just like dials in to be sad every day. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's like big sad.
Well, so if you don't know, this film is based on, or like loosely based on, a book by Philip K. Dick called "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?"
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I've
very
not read
good.
it, but I feel like you mentioning the emotion boxes, like I feel like at some point we have to have the age-old discussion about whether or not Deckard is a replicant or not.
Yeah. We can talk about it because I kind of went back and forth the last time we watched this movie because I
Yeah.
was like,
Well, how
That
many
whole
times have you gone back and forth in your life?
well, it didn't really hit me until the last time we watched this movie, because like I've always thought that he wasn't a replicant, and then I was kind of thinking about how he's just doing this without a choice, kind of. Like, he's never really moralistic about coming back to be a police officer or a Blade Runner, even though, like, he kind of gets pressured into it. But, like, the unicorn part
Yeah.
was weird to me. And how at the end, Edward James Olmos, I don't know why I never remember the name of his character. He puts the little unicorn thing.
We literally looked it up
apartment.
before we started
I
recording.
know, it's like Goff or Gaff. I think it's Gaff.
Maybe? Yeah.
But I feel like they only say it in the movie like once or twice.
Yeah.
But I don't think he is.
Yeah, but so the unicorn thing. Well, because after we watched it last time, you sent me a message about how. Did you say that it was like Ridley Scott who was like open about like how kind of the idea was that it was supposed to be showing how Deckard isn't too dissimilar from the replicants?
That's just kind of what I was thinking.
Okay, I thought you said that
Ridley
that was
Scott
something
thinks
that
that,
Ridley
but
Scott said that.
I think it is just showing that, like, they're
Yeah,
kind of the
like
same.
I don't know if he's a replicant, but there's a lot of discussion about like memories in this, I feel like.
Yeah.
And something I noticed this time was how there's the scene where Deckard like goes into what I'm assuming is like the strip club where that one replicant works.
Yeah.
And like he kind of just like comes into a room and he's like playing a character. And you know, the Void comp is like I feel like a pretty significant through line throughout the entire film, because it's like about generating this emotional response from a replicant. And like, although like in the first two examples, they kind of have to be in a dark room, they have to have this camera so that they can like tell, but it also seemed like he was kind of doing that on her specifically to see if she would react, and then ends up reacting. She basically does the same thing that Leon, was that his name?
Yeah.
Leon did in the first scene where he like he kills the guy. She tries to kill Harrison Ford or Deckard. But that is kind of this through line about memories, and like I feel like Deckard also kind of just like exists as a little bit of a slave to the system.
Yeah.
Just like the replicants do. And like I think the idea is that his higher up, who I'm assuming Gaff is, like is he higher than Deckard, or are they both just Blade Runners?
I think they're probably mostly equal, just under Bryant, the police chief.
Okay. So he's just a police officer.
Yeah, he's just the dude who he sends to go get Deckard. I think. But he's also like walking with a cane and stuff, and you never see him like fight anybody, so maybe he's kind of crippled.
It's just interesting.
Yeah. But I love this movie. I'll always love this movie.
This is so I was just looking at Google, and it says, what does Gaff mean at the end of Blade Runner? And it says Deckard has a unicorn dream sequence earlier in the film, and Gaff's silver paper unicorn at the end signifies that he is aware of the contents of Deckard's dreams because they're implants, meaning that Deckard is really a replicant.
Nah,
but I'm like,
no way.
I mean, like, I feel like that's
simple.
the like obvious reading. You know, that's like if you were just like, yeah, I'm just gonna that's clearly what happened. But I feel like it is kind of more so just implying that Deckard isn't really free.
Yeah.
Like he's getting away, but is he really getting away? Because then I feel like 2049 is like about the impact that him and Rachel have on the world, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, obviously it's meant to be kind of nuanced and not a clear answer, but I mean, most of the best fiction works that way anyway.
Yep. I like it. I
It
like
was,
how it kind of just
yeah,
ends with them running away.
yeah. It's just it's a wild film, and I don't know why it took me so long to recognize that. You know.
Well, I'm glad you've finally been enlightened by Blade Runner. Have you seen any other Ridley Scott movies?
I mean, I've seen Alien.
Yeah,
I mean, Alien's a really good movie.
that one is good. That one's like a horror movie above being a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, but it is also sci-fi. It's very
Oh,
sci-fi.
it's hella sci-fi. Don't get me wrong.
Well, I wanted to see if there was any other last thoughts I had about Blade Runner, because
Yeah.
I had this conversation with one of my friends about it. Yeah. Oh my god.
Excuse me. But yeah. Anyway, should we move into our next segment?
Sure. Oh well, I was gonna
is-
say there's this song Blade Runner Blues, bro.
Blade Runner Blues.
That song, it's from the soundtrack.
Oh.
That song is just so good.
Which one is it?
It's like it's the one that had that like cool lead synthesizer that I was telling you about. It's like kind of jazzy, but it's like got this like really specific lead synthesizer. You would recognize it if you heard it.
Oh yeah, that one's my favorite. That song is absolutely my favorite.
Synthesizer is just so good.
All right, next segment. It's called "What Movies Are Coming Out and Do We Care?"
That's the name of the segment.
Yep. All right. So this is just from the Letterboxd list. It's a good just movie review app. Highly recommend it. Dune 2 coming out. You ever see Dune?
Yeah, I saw the first one. God, that was such a good movie.
Yeah, the one with Tim Chalamet.
Yeah.
You liked it?
Oh yeah, did you like it?
I never saw it. I tried
Oh,
to
you
watch
didn't
it and
see
I
it?
fell asleep like 2 years ago.
Damn, dude. That is another film just like Blade Runner that like has this incredible mixture of like sci-fi and architecture and just like overall lighting and tone.
Yeah.
Like, and the music also. The
Yeah.
music is pretty incredible. It just has such a particular vibe.
I tried to watch the one like the David Lynch Dune from the
Oh.
80s. That one kind of sucks.
I've heard of that, but
It's
I've never watched it.
slow and not very good.
I've also heard it's like vastly different from the book.
Yeah. Okay. Up next we got Nosferatu. You ever see Nosferatu? Do you know what that is?
I have no clue what that.
It's kind of like a vampire Dracula movie.
Oh wait, is that the? Oh no, that's not the one. There was a movie about Dracula that also came out recently that was like on a
Renfield.
ship.
It's got Nicolas Cage in it.
No, it was like about like a ship getting attacked by Dracula.
Dracula on a boat.
Is
Whatever
that
the name of that one.
is that the name of it?
No,
It's like
no, that's just what another podcast calls it. Deadpool 3. That one's coming out next year. Gonna be cool. Hugh Jackman to star along Ryan Reynolds. Gonna be some big multiverse stuff happening there.
Yeah, dude. I'm like so burnt out on Marvel, bro.
I also am, but I like Deadpool.
I mean, I'll definitely see the Deadpool movie.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be the next big Marvel blockbuster because the Marvels did not do well.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see it either, along with most other people.
I'm probably just gonna wait for it to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah, but I'm tired of the Brie Larson hate.
I mean, me too. Yeah,
I feel like
don't
she
hate-
doesn't really deserve it.
I like heard that the Marvels actually. I mean, I saw just two ends of the spectrum. Some people being like, "Oh yeah, it was great," and then some people being like, "Oh my god, it was awful." Which, yeah, I don't know. It's a fucking Marvel movie, bro.
Yeah,
no one
anyway.
cares anymore.
I feel like they pulled a Star Wars. They made too much. And then everybody's tired now.
Well, they just should not have done Disney Plus. Like, they should have limited the number of series they were going to do on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because if people had to wait for something new, I think people would care more. You know? But
Yeah.
people don't have to wait anymore.
Nope.
Like, it's just like, yeah, 6 months, new show.
Yeah,
It's
they
not
made too
like-
many TV shows.
It should be like 2 years. But then they wouldn't be able to pump out as much movies.
much money and
Yeah.
not give it to people
Oh, yeah, exactly.
who deserve it. Up next, we got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. You gonna see that one?
I didn't even realize that was coming out.
Oh yeah, because right after the actors' strike ended, they put the trailers out.
Oh damn, really?
I don't know if Amber Heard's gonna be in it, but that's a mess. This movie's a mess. I feel like James
Amber
Gunn's
Heard?
just trying to.
Who
Yeah,
did she play?
she's Mara. She's like Aquaman's wife.
Was she the like red-haired girl?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know that name. I don't know what happened to Amber Heard.
Oh, she's the one who was married to Johnny Depp, and they had that whole thing. Yeah. Messy stuff. Pooping in beds and whatnot.
What?
Bad
What the fuck?
mojo. She's not gonna be in a lot of movies again. But I don't know. Are you aware of the whole like DC DC movie situation with James Gunn?
Oh, like how he's gonna be like the creative director going forward or something?
Mm-hmm. He's kind of being the Kevin Feige of DC.
Well, I also heard that Dave Filoni is going to be taking over as creative director of like all Star Wars properties.
I heard that as well.
Just crazy.
I like Star Wars, but I'm not too attached to it anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't like the new ones, but that's okay.
Like the
if
new
you did, that's
movies?
cool. What?
Like the new movies?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, new movies are. I mean, they're whatever. If you like them, you like them. I don't like them.
Yeah. I really don't like them. I really, really, really don't like them.
I mean, the only thing Star Wars really like care about anymore is the stuff that Dave Filoni makes.
Yeah.
And pretty much all of that is the Disney Plus stuff. I mean, some of the Disney Plus stuff has been very hit or miss, but yeah. Well, I also saw a trailer today for how Netflix. Do you know what Yu Yu Hakusho is?
No.
It's an anime and manga from the 90s by the same guy that did Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, cool.
It was his series before Hunter x Hunter, and there's a live action adaptation of it coming to Netflix.
Nice.
And I watched the trailer for it. It doesn't look as terrible as I was expecting.
Yeah,
we will see. It could be really bad, but it also could be not.
Don't touch anime. Don't make it live action.
I mean, true. Yeah, no, it is like 100% pointless.
But yay for One Piece.
I mean, One Piece was good, I guess. For those of you that don't, I mean, you probably don't know me, but if you follow me online at all, you will know that I love One Piece to death.
Forrest is the biggest.
We are sitting surrounded by One Piece statues. Like, they are just on the floors and everywhere. I'm just
He has an entire bookshelf.
And I've watched the live action twice, basically. I still haven't seen the last two episodes the second time, but like, it's still not great. It's about as good as it could have been, but like watching it a second time, it's pretty lackluster.
Yeah.
Like, just like the cinematography, bro, is just like not good. And I'm just like,
that sucks.
It's
People
not,
were so excited about it.
Like, it's not that hard. I mean, okay, it is pretty difficult to be good at cinematography.
Yeah.
But like, clearly they didn't get someone that was like super well practiced. But I also just feel like people don't know how to shoot live action anime yet.
I just don't understand how you fuck up when it's literally already storyboarded for you,
Well, like, exactly. But I do believe that a lot of camera angles and a lot of close-ups in anime and manga don't really work in live action because people aren't as expressive.
Yeah, they don't change their face in live action, but you can do that in animation.
Really, the most lackluster thing about the live action is just that, pretty much. So I mean, it's about as good as it could be because like the cinematography is really the thing that drags it down, because there's just so many weird close-ups, and like all the close-ups are like down here, so it's like it's like awkwardly looking a little bit up at them.
Yeah.
And also a lot of them have like a fisheye lens, and that just looks so weird when you're like close up on someone.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'll never ever learn if there's money to be made, and I think that's
But it's fascinating
gonna happen
because
forever.
I don't believe that there's money to be made on streaming services. I mean, maybe
You
there
don't.
is,
Well,
but it's like crazy that this stuff is coming to streaming services because I'm like, I don't think it's making them their money back. It can't be. Like I
I
feel
think
like,
it is, and I think it's just being stolen by whoever
Yeah.
runs Netflix.
oh yeah,
Because like I saw this thing the other day, how they don't tell people how many streams or like how many people have watched this thing. They just
Yeah.
keep that hidden, and like that's crazy.
Well, and then it's like when they come out with a number, it's like how the fuck can you even like believe them?
Yeah, for sure.
Like they were like One Piece hit like 64 million viewers or some shit. I'm like, okay, but they don't post. They don't post like evidence of that.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, this happened, and you're like, okay, and it's all just so that they can get as many people to subscribe.
Yeah.
It was like we literally just got locked out of my dad's Netflix account because
you're
of
not
the
on same
whole
Wi-Fi.
yeah, because the whole dumb
weird
password
shit.
bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's stuff I want to watch on Netflix. Like, there's the new Scott Pilgrim anime,
Oh yeah, I've heard that's
which
good.
we watched the first like 3 episodes on Thanksgiving, and that was really good
Cool.
so far.
Yeah.
They got like the entire cast from the movie to do the voices,
I saw that. That's
which is
dope.
kind of crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine that was cheap because like they've got Brie Larson and Chris Evans,
Yeah.
both
They're
who are
big
like
ticket
way
items.
bigger now.
Yeah. They're like 10 times bigger than they were when the
Exactly.
first movie came out.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Hope you tune in next time. And subscribe, I guess, if you are watching this, which I don't know how likely that will be.
If you like hot movies and hot takes,
Yeah. Welcome to a podcast that starts with movie and ends with something yet undecided.
it's the best though. This is the best movie podcast. No
Maybe
matter
that's
what it's
what we
named.
should just call ourselves, the best movie podcast.
The best movies, the best movie podcast, #1 movie podcast.
Best movies because we said so.
Yeah,
That's the name of the podcast.
And I don't know if anybody's gonna get angry about our opinions, but
Yeah.
I just
mean, it's
want
the
everyone
internet.
to know that I am right and everyone else is wrong. You cry about it. So thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
God bless everybody, and I love everybody listening. Bye, Forrest.
I guess. Yes. Bye.